Listening exercise. Instructions. First, read the sentences, then listen to the lecture, then drag the information under the correct heading. So you can see here there's a whole bunch of sentences that they say in the listening. So I think you should read them first and then listen for them in the listening and then be able to put them under the correct heading. Now, these headings are not real easy. And you know, there's actually a lot of really difficult words in this listening. So look down here at the bottom. The first one is development induced displacement. Now we know displacement is forced migration, or somebody is making somebody move. And that's due to development. The second one, disaster-induced displacement. This is somebody making somebody move because of a disaster. And the last one is conflict-induced displacement, and that's displacement is happening because of a conflict. I thought those were really difficult words, so I got some pictures. Here is development, and you'll see here's a picture of a dam, and they talk about a dam as development in the listening. And there's also some machinery, and they're developing a freeway. And a freeway is something else that if the city decides they want to develop a freeway where your house is, you will be displaced. So these are both examples of development-induced displacement. Here is disaster-induced displacement, and both of these things are talked about in the video. Here's a volcano, and I chose this picture because you can see there's like somebody's house or something here really close to the volcano. So if it erupts, they're going to have to move. And on the other side, this is actually a nuclear plant in Japan. And you can see here that it's on fire, and that's a big problem. And because of that, people had to move. And this is conflict-induced displacement. And they talk about conflict in the listening. They talk about war, just violence, and discrimination, or violence because of discrimination. So there's one picture here, and it looks like a bomb or something must have landed on this building, because there's a couple buildings here that are just completely falling down. And on the other side is violence. We see a fire, we see a house burned down, and we see a bunch of people that have sticks and baseball bats, and it looks like a really bad, violent situation. And both these situations might mean that somebody has to move. After the listening exercise, you have another exercise called note-taking skill. And it has to do with noting contrasting ideas. And contrast means kind of like opposite. Let's read this together. During lectures or presentations, it is common for speakers to contrast one idea with one or more other ideas. In some cases, the ideas may be different, such as economic stability and political stability. In other cases, they might be opposite ideas, such as immigration and emigration. When you hear speakers mention contrasting ideas, make a note of what they say. You can use a slash to mark a contrast. And I'm going to show you here the exercise. It's not real easy. You've really got to listen. But I will give you the first answer. Here's a bunch of words up here, and you move them down into the note-taking area. And here's the first line. It talks about migration. And we talked about this before. We talked about migration, and your listening talks about migration. And it says that some migration could be voluntary, and you can see there that line is supposed to be a slash, even though it's not. It's like a straight up and down line. I hope that's not too confusing. So what word is the opposite of voluntary? Oh, it's forced. So we've got forced migration contrasted with voluntary migration. So you just moved force. You just move force right down in there, and you get the first answer right.